And I'm pleased to announce that this morning, the Treasury Department began directing employers to reduce the amount of taxes withheld from paychecks, meaning that by April 1st, a typical family will begin taking home at least $65 more every month. This incentive is part of the economic package I signed into law last month, a package that also includes a payroll tax cut that will mean $1,000 more this year for a typical family. You see, last year both parties came together to cut payroll taxes for the typical middle-class family by about $1,000. I'm hopeful because of what we saw right before Christmas, when members of Congress came together to prevent a tax hike for 160 million Americans, saving a typical family about $40 in every paycheck. And because we put in place the toughest fuel economy standards in history, our cars will average nearly 55 miles per gallon by the middle of the next decade, something that over time will save the typical family more than $8,000 at the pump. That means folks will be able to fill up every 2 weeks instead of every week, saving the typical family more than $8,000 at the pump over time. Every year, our cars and trucks will be able to go further and use less fuel. And pretty soon, you'll be able to fill up every 2 weeks instead of every week, something that over time will save the typical family more than $8,000 at the pump over the life of a car, just by using less gas. Combined, these steps have helped put us on a path to. Instead, we got the slowest job growth in half a century, and the typical American family actually saw its income fall. And that's why I've cut middle-class taxes every year that I've been president, by $3,600 for the typical family. Weeks ago, to protect middle-class Americans and virtually every small business owner from getting hit with a big tax hike next year, a tax hike of $2,200 for the typical family. Now it comes down to this. If a typical middle-class family of four will see their income taxes rise by $2,200. $200 tax hike. That would be bad for families. It'd be bad for businesses. A typical American with a bachelor's degree or higher earns over $28,000 more per year than someone with just a high school diploma. But while our businesses are creating jobs at the fastest pace since the 90s, the typical family hasn't seen a raise since the 90s also. Because even though corporate profits and the stock market have hit all-time highs, the typical family isn't bringing home more than they did 15 years ago. Last year, the typical household saw its income grow by about $2,800, the biggest one-year increase ever. Last year, folks' typical household income rose by $2,800. In fact, last year, folks' typical household income rose by $2,800. That's the single biggest increase on record. And folks at the bottom and middle saw bigger gains than those at the top.